Okay, welcome to Seller Sessions. My name is Sharon Evan and I am your host today. And today we're going to be speaking about Amazon product photography made for conversion. We have here the amazing Milana from Pixelnut Studio, Sasha Gorlick from Sasha Gorlick Copywriting, and Anthony from PickFu. While I get some things together here, do you guys want to quickly give a brief intro to who each one of you are and what you do? Milana, we'll start with you.
I have to start first? Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Milana. So I'm a graphic designer and the owner of Pixelnut Studio, and I'm working every day with Amazon sellers on their images, on graphic design and photography. And yeah, that's what I'm
Awesome. Anthony.
Hey everyone, my name is Anthony Cofrancesco. I currently work as the industry liaison at PickFu. Prior to PickFu, I ran a creative agency for almost 2 years, helped a lot of sellers really tackle their conversion rates, and I previously worked at Amazon. So hopefully going to share some interesting tips today.
Awesome. Sasha.
Hey, I'm Sasha from Sasha Gorlick Copywriting, and I've been working with Amazon sellers for about, I think, 5 years now, maybe more, doing listings and EBC content, and more recently also helping sellers branch out and, create their own websites, because obviously it's good to diversify and have different channels for sales. And yeah, I love creating copy for some really awesome products over the years. Yeah.
Cool. Well, we're really excited to have you all here. I don't think Sasha and Milana, this is your first podcast, so woohoo! I don't know if you guys have been on Seller Sessions before, but welcome here. We're thankful that you guys are all here. And I'm excited about today's conversation because I feel like it's probably one of the most important things in a listing. Obviously, copyright's important, very important, and making sure you've got your keywords in place. But you got to have a really good image in order to get a click, and then in order then for that to convert into a sale. So I've got some topic layouts for us sort of today to speak about. And I think that one of the most important things to start with is images made for optimization. So Yarrow is here like every week, so we'll just say shout out to Yarrow. Hey, Yarrow. So I thought we could go around the table, and I love how we say table, even though there's no table here, and sort of talk about what it is, because each one of us here comes from a different background. So Milana is also an ex-Amazon seller and actually, is coming from a designer background. Anthony used to own a company for images, etc., and creative design, and now is with PickFu. And then Sasha's from a copywriting point of view. You help people to actually lay out what their images are going to look like, and then they take that to their designer. So, and then, I've been in e-commerce for like my entire adult life. So I think that it's just a really great roundtable to sort of speak about what each of us, how we see images when it comes to Amazon. So I think what we'll start off with is what we each think is very important when it comes to images for optimization. And what that means for sort of each one of us. And I think we'll start off also with the main image. So Anthony, I'm gonna cut it straight to you for when it comes to main image, because you're also working at PickFu. What types of main images have you seen sort of that not necessarily convert, because we don't have proof of conversion, but that work well when it comes to get that click?
Yeah, sure. So it's a really good question. A main image, you got to think it's kind of the starting point of where a shopper is going to be on their journey, right? After they've typed something into the search bar, they know what they're looking for, they know what they want to buy. And so now when they are searching through that first page of search results, they're looking for validation of what they've searched for. And they're looking for that in the most straightforward visual way that you can provide. And so I started, the reason I came into PickFu is that my prior agency, we had done a lot of testing to see what actually worked in terms of main images, what were customers looking for. And the biggest thing that I can see is having a main image that really does a good job of explaining what the product does. If you can show the product in action, So again, someone's typed into the search bar, they know what they're looking for, and now you just need to show them, yep, I've found it. This is the listing that I want to click into. And with main image, you're right, Sharon, you're not really talking about conversion rate, you're talking about CTR, right? Like, what can I do to send the correct relevant information that's going to increase the probability that someone's going to click into that listing?
So, of course, we have to take into consideration Amazon's terms of service, which means that the main image is, it has to be on a white background. Now, all of us have probably seen people getting away with main images that are not on a white background. Milana, what sort of tips can you give to anyone here when it comes to also on size-wise, because you know exactly what sizes the main images need to be also. What kind of tips can you give people for their main image on a conversion level also, to try and make sure that they're also going to get that click? And also size regulations, because I know that you know that. So what tips can you give us on that?
So I'm making images 3000 with 3000 pixels. Minimum size for Amazon is 1000 pixels with 1000 pixels, but I make it larger. But Amazon will anyway reduce size for faster upload, and it will reduce it even from 3000 to 1500 to 1500. I see it all the time. And then people will say, well, look, I uploaded 3000 with 3000, but it's showing 1500. Why? Because of the Amazon website, right? And they have to do it. They have to reduce the size, because otherwise the website would be too heavy and we wouldn't read images fast, So I'm making that size, but when the product, it depends on, I'm trying to use the most of the square formats. So I'm trying to fill out more space so that the image stands out really in a sea of other images. And to use, to make the product really stand out with colors as well. Now, again, that depends on the product, what the color is the product. Maybe I can use the packaging as well to show it. It depends if the product is a white product on white background. I'm usually using packaging, or I'm putting harsh shadows on a product so it stands out against white background. When we're talking about terms and services, it's really important to read what Amazon guidelines are and to understand them. And sometimes people come to me and they say, oh, I want to put badge in Amazon in the main image. And I tell them, I warn them, this is against TOS, and Amazon can suppress your listing. And I make them usually a backup image without the badge. So let's say they want an image that it says satisfaction guarantee, for example. I make them both options, one without and one with the badge. So in case that Amazon suppresses their listing, they have a backup. And usually they come back to me and they say, oh, thank you so much. Amazon did suppress my listing, and, I had a backup. I could replace it.
Yeah, I think that just for Milana, there's backup from you. I'm just going to feedback. I just muted you. I think that it's something that people sometimes also get confused is getting suspended and getting suppressed. So although we're only going to preach having, within TOS images here, in case you are not doing a within TOS image, just so you know, an image can get your product obviously suppressed. And suppressed, you can just quickly go in and upload a new image, so it's not like being suspended. So what are this is one of the questions I always get, and we all obviously know the answer. It's great for us to talk about it. What are some images that we all think are really, really important for people to have in their listings? Now, I ask this because the amount of listings that I see, and then I see only white, like a product in different angles. Every image is a different angle on a white background, right? And, it's not really made for conversion in Amazon 2021. So what are some important images that we all think are, a must? Because we have 9 images that we can upload, only 7 are seen on the website or on mobile, and then unless they double click it. And then if you also have a video, then you only see 6 images. So what would you guys say are some of the most important images to make sure in order to show, the product? Sasha, starting with you.
Okay. I mean, I've worked with, it really kind of depends on the product as well, because, you know, some things, let's say for sports, you definitely want to have those like real lifestyle images. In some other cases with other products, you can use stock photos and it will look good. I really hate, this is like a big like hate, is when people like use stock images and they kind of like stick their product like in the middle of the picture. Milana, I'm sure you don't do this, but I've seen it a lot with sellers that I work with, and it just looks really amateur. And it gives like a very fake feeling. So if you can shoot like real life pictures of people actually using your product, it's going to convert so much better. Another thing I think people really need to work on is the infographics and having really clear fonts that you're using. Because if you're going to put text on it, it has to be readable. Like, and people shouldn't try and stuff too much information either, like into the infographics. Like, just have some really, really short, like 3-4 words of exactly what, you know, what the standout features are of your product and why it's better than your competitors. That's one thing. And another thing that I think is really good to do is, if you have a USP, hopefully you do, or you can come up with one, whether it's your brand or the product itself, is repeating that throughout the copy, like of the listing, and also in the images. And so let's say you're selling like, I don't know, like sports headphones that are good for divers. I have no idea, I'm just making this up. But like specifically, like put like headphones, like earphones for divers, like, you know, depth of whatever, 100 feet, and put that again, like over and over again, like through the EBC in the listing. And then it gets in people's head as like an anchor point almost. Like they've seen it in your title maybe, and then they see it in the photos, they see it in the text. They're like, okay, this is what I need, kind of thing. So yeah, those are just some of my thoughts.
I think that something that I see very often is, in my opinion and also experience, infographics look so much better when you're using icons rather than, I see so many people trying to stuff so much text into an image, and, you know, and they make it so complicated. It's so important to make it very readable. And for people, I always say, I think actually I may have even learned this from Anthony, to be honest, what I'm about to say, but I could be making this up. I'm pretty sure that Anthony once said that to make images as if you're like making an image for a baby, like to make sure that you've got an image so that people straight away as they see it, right, they can straight away understand what the product, so it's not overcomplicated, right? Anthony, is that something that I stole from you? Or am I?
Yeah, we definitely, like, I fully agree with that. Where I think a lot of sellers sometimes go wrong is they think that when someone is shopping for their product on Amazon, that they're this captive audience, that they're sitting there, they're fully engaged, they're going to look and read every part of your listing. In reality, that's not the case, right? When people are shopping, they're distracted. The kids are running around in the back. It's been a crazy year with COVID. The phone's going off, the dog's barking. And so you actually have a very limited amount of time to convey what you need to convey to the customer. And if you don't do it, there's only two options. They're either going to buy the product or they're going to bounce. And so what I like to emphasize of when you're making an image, think about the 5-second rule. And think about, if I show this infographic to someone who has no knowledge of the product, and I say, hey, look at this graphic, look at it for 5 seconds, and then take it away and say, what was this trying to show you? And oftentimes what sellers are trying to do is they're trying to jam pack the information in there. And if nothing is important, if everything is important, then nothing's important. And so it's much more effective to go with a very simple image. That way, at the very minimum, you know that what you're trying to convey to the customer will be absorbed, and they'll use that in their decision process.
I just want to jump in and like add to what Anthony's saying, is that like sellers always think like, I have to tell everyone like all these amazing features, but like you should also just let customers like experience your product for themselves. Like they're not going to remember all the tiny little features that you put in anyway. It's the main experience that you're giving them in the image, and that will like get them to add it to cart and buy it. And then afterwards they'll be like, oh, this is a really cool product, and then they'll figure out all the cool features that come along with it. Yeah.
So Milana, you work with like hundreds of sellers when it comes to creating images for them. We spoke a little bit about infographics, and I'd like us to talk a little bit about lifestyle images. So when it comes to lifestyle images, there's obviously everything we speak about is so product dependent, right? But I think that coming from, you know, a designer point of view, right, who's also an ex-Amazon seller, but someone who's from a designer point of view, what do you think are some important things for people to take into consideration when it comes to having lifestyle images Obviously, everything's product dependent, but some of the lifestyle images people will use stock. Some of them you'll actually go and do a proper photo shoot. What are some tips that you can give to people when it comes to things to make sure that they have in their lifestyle images to show the product being used? Or have we lost Milana? Oh, wait, you're on mute, Milana. I muted you because there was feedback, and I'm unmuting you now. There you go.
All right, you hear me now?
Yep, we can hear you.
Okay, I always tell to have at least minimum 2 or 3 lifestyle images. They don't necessarily, again, it's a product dependent. They don't necessarily have to include a person showing a product or using a product, or they can just, include a hand showing a product, or, to make some demonstration with it to show the size in comparison with the hand. But it's great to have at least 2 or 3 images with models so people can really connect with those images and they can imagine themselves using that product. And it's really important to have in images. This is something I made a mistake as well. I was selling a baby product and I had toddlers in images, remember? And so you tell me, well, you see, your PPC is going for keywords with toddlers, not for babies. It's because you have images with toddlers. So in your lifestyle images, you should show really your customers. So so they can imagine themselves really using. Not all products are gonna look nice when you work with stock images. Some of them are gonna look really fake. And I always tell to people what they can expect. Like, look, this is gonna look really fake. Like, for example, let's take as an example a blanket. If you
Milana, I'm gonna stop you quickly. Your internet, we can hear you half here, and you're all blurry. So you don't want to just quickly try and fix your internet so that we can hear you properly.
It's very stormy here, so
maybe see if you can reconnect, and then we can get you back. In the meantime,
all right, I'll try. Yeah.
Okay, cool. In the meantime, until Milana comes back, I do want us to finish talking sort of about the actual images. But since we have you here, Anthony, and I think it's such an important subject to speak about, let's speak a little bit about how important it is to do like split testing and to actually ask your buyer avatars different questions before we go through with our images. I mean, I'm a huge, I use PickFu all the time, and PickFu is amazing. And for those of you who don't know, basically on PickFu, Anthony, you can probably give a quick 1 minute just to explain what PickFu does. But also after that, let's speak a little bit about how important it is to do some split testing and actually asking your ideal client or other people that are not your mom and your sister and your brother who, will tell you what you want to hear, what they think about the product and which one they're most likely to click on, etc.
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, just think about it like this. Market research is nothing new. It's major companies have been doing it since the beginning of time. And it makes sense as to why they invest heavily in it, because like you're saying, you're selling a product, you're putting all this time and effort into launching the product, you're spending all this money on inventory and all these other fees. When you get a product to market, you want to make sure and avoid that you haven't done something completely wrong. And make sure that you're getting some insight. A lot of us are selling products. I know that some of the first products I sold, I was the exact opposite of what the target market is. And a lot of us sellers are kind of insulated in our little bubbles. We sit in our offices all day, we're working, and the closest connection we have from our brands getting any feedback on the outside world is going to your partner, your spouse, and you're like, hey, babe, what do you think about my product packaging? And it's so it's fine. But it's not, if you're running a business that you want to scale to multiple millions of dollars and build something that's legit, that's not what legit brands do. And so PickFu is just a really easy way that you don't have to invest a crazy amount of money. You can put up creative assets and you can get creative direction with real feedback from real people.
I think that PickFu is such an important tool because a lot of people even send me their images and like, hey Sharon, which image do you like best? And I'm not even their buyer avatar, so I'm just going with my gut. And then I say, I think this image makes sense, but I would probably go to something like PickFu. And I also really believe in I think that the good thing I love about PickFu is that like within half an hour, you've got an answer, right? Like you go up and you ask a question, 30 minutes, 35, 40 minutes max. Usually you've got an answer. And although I think that that's great, I also think that actually testing images, right? So, usually let's just say, I think also about testing, which is something's important to say. Let's just say that we did a poll on PickFu, and then I got an answer saying that, this image is the best image, the one that we'd click on the most. I will usually try that image, and anytime I want to make a change to a different image, I always wait a minimum of 7 days. I think that's something that a lot of people don't actually do. You got to wait. Every time you make a change, you have to wait at least, in my opinion, a week before you say whether it worked out or it didn't work out, because it could just be of being a slow day, or a slow week. What do you think about that, Anthony, as well?
I think it's really good. It makes a lot of sense. Give it some time. And then, since we are on the topic of photography, and not to make this, about PickFu, but this is a really cool example that I wanted to share. It'll take 2 seconds. I'm just going to share my screen real quick. Let me know if you can see it. This is super interesting. Can you see my screen, Sharon?
No, I think I don't necessarily know what it is that I need to do in order to. Yeah, you probably need to click it, and then I need to bring it up. There you go. Oops, it's coming up. And also, I'll have to explain this because we've got people listening on the podcast, which they can't see this. So we have here 3 images. We have an image of a big white bag with someone putting their hand sanitizer in it, and then another bag it's so difficult to explain this. Another bag.
I can explain it.
Yeah, go for it, Anthony. Explain it.
Okay. So what this was is we did a case study with Kevin King, and so he was launching this product. On the right-hand side of the screen, it's a travel size hand sanitizer, and so we had a bunch of agencies competing to create a really good listing for Kevin King. And so what one of the agencies did, which was really smart, we know how labor intensive and how expensive a lifestyle shoot can be. What the agency did is, prior to doing the lifestyle shoot, they went and tested 3 stock images of different scenarios where people were using hand sanitizer. And so one is someone pulling it out of a purse, one someone packing it into luggage, one someone pulling it out of a luggage with a mask. And so they tested the options on PickFu, and they saw that, okay, option A, someone pulling it out of the purse, was what they were looking for, was what best resonated with the audience. And so the agency used that creative as inspiration to go say, okay, we want to create an image that's even better than this. And that's the image you see on the right-hand side with the really beautiful nails, the really beautiful bag, and well-coordinated outfit. So that's just a quick tip.
Yeah, I love that. Milana, we've got you back here. So we were just speaking about lifestyle images before you went out, and a lot of people don't necessarily. I say to them, it's important for you to have a lifestyle image, and then they're like, well, what should I have in my image, right? And of course, it's very product dependent. You were just in the middle of explaining some things. So, like, just as an example, you and I have sort of we. Actually, the 3 of us, Sasha, Milana, and I work closely together on many projects. But sometimes, let's just say we'll have a client who comes to us, and then they have a product which is, let's just say, a children's product, right? And then I'll say to them, look, put some like parents in the background, right, as an example to show. So let's just think about some different tips that we can give people for the different types of lifestyle images that they can have as well.
Okay, so you can do photo manipulation, but then again, you hear me well now?
Yeah, we can hear you great. We can see you. You look great.
Thank you. Okay, so you can save money on product photography, that's for sure, using stock images as well, but it's not going to turn out always great. And in some situations, it's better to work on real product photography and to have real live models showing using a product, wearing a product, whatever the case is, whatever the product is, and to present it like that. In lifestyle images, you can, if you are working on photo manipulation, make sure that there is enough space in the image where you can Photoshop a product to look realistic, to show the environment that is matching your audience. So, for example, if you're selling a product, it's obvious that you're going to show it in the kitchen. You're not going to show it in the bedroom. if you're showing a product for kids, you're gonna try to show
possibly show like parents. Oops, possibly show like parents in the background, you know, having some time off, being really, really happy while the kids are playing. So the parents are getting like 5 minutes off. Yeah.
Exactly. So where was I?
Yeah, we were talking about that, about having different sort of lifestyle images. You know, the other day I saw an image, a product listing, and it was a bird product. And in none of the images did they have a bird. There were no birds in the images. And I was like, but you sell a, yeah, you sell a bird product. How do you not have a bird? And then he said to me, well, how am I supposed to get birds? Right. And obviously I know the answer for that. So if someone, let's just say, came to you with a product with, for example, you know, it's for a bird, right? And obviously they're not going to sit around and wait for birds or get a photographer for that. So what would they do? What would you guys then do in that situation?
Not only birds, in general with pets. So usually I'm going to find the stock image of a pet isolated on white background. Then I'm going to try to match the angle with, let's say we're showing in different environment, and to show, like, it depends if I'm using a stock background and product shooted on white background. I'm going to match it in that photo, and I'm going to match the same angle of the pet inside of the, let's say, cage, if the person is selling a cage for a bird. And to make it look like it's in those situations, I would do like that.
Yeah, so basically we'd be getting an image of something like Shutterstock of a bird, and then you would then be photoshopping it in the right angle on the product, which many people, I say this to them and they're like, what? I didn't even know that I could do that. And that's why I think it's important to also speak about those things. Milana, a lot of people, when it comes to the main image, ask whether they should have their packaging or not. And I always prefer, and I'd love to see what the panel here thinks about this as well. I always prefer to have an image of the packaging to be a 3D mock-up. And so can you give us a little bit of different tips that you as a designer yourself have about using a 3D mock-up of your packaging in your main image, or just in an image in general? Because a lot of people think that they have to have their actual packaging.
They don't have to.
Yeah. So, okay. Yeah, go for it.
First, I want to say there is a difference between 3D renders and models and between a mock-up, and that's something that people don't understand. And when you come to the designer and you tell him that you want a 3D mock-up, he will assume that you're looking for a 3D render. So a 3D render, it's a render that is photorealistic, that you can turn and spin and change the angle and do whatever you want with it. But with the mock-up is a static image, and you can create that one angle that you need, and that's it. You can't recreate from that mock-up different angles. So, for example, if you create a mock-up of the packaging, you can't create different, like you have to create new mock-up for it, right? So for packaging, I always recommend people to, it depends on this, like for hero image, I would always recommend to use a mock-up, because sometimes packaging will come to the photographer, sometimes it will come smashed. Corners will be smashed. Sometimes the customs will break the packaging, and then I've been in those situations. I've been retouching packagings to look nice and everything, but it will never look as perfect as a mock-up. And the mock-up you can make, really, really perfect how you want to present it to the people. You don't want to show them smashed corners or, some problems that can happen on the way in the transport. And so as well as for the mock-ups, it's also important to create the same angle if you're doing photo manipulation, to make the same angle as your stock photo or the background that you're using, and you want to, let's say, Photoshop your packaging on the table or whatever it is. It has to match that angle so it doesn't look off.
I'm actually going to bring up, oh no, Milana, I'm getting bad feedback from you. Hold on, I have to mute you. Okay, I'm going to bring up, I'm just trying to figure out how I can do it. I know that we have people listening here on the podcast, and if you really want to see what I'm sharing, you're going to have to come and find the live. Let me just quickly find how I can share. I want people to be able to see. Here we go. So this is, I didn't actually ask Milana's permission, but this is from Milana. And here, so if you're watching us on the live currently, oops, it's gone missing. If you're watching us currently on the live, I'm trying to show this. Great. So you can see here, this is an example. We spoke about images with text or with graphic. Milana, this image here, you guys can see my mouse moving, right? Someone say yes, because I can't see the screen. Yes, okay. Oh, no, I can't do that because then you guys don't see it. Okay, there you go. This image here, is this a 3D mock-up? Milana, you'll have to unmute yourself. You're on mute. Hold on. Unmute. There you
Hear
go.
me?
Yep. Is this a 3D mock-up here?
I think it is. I have to check. That image is straight from Amazon.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I wanted us to show an example because I can't remember if we spoke about white products. How do you deal with white products that are, you know, white on white? Because it's very difficult.
Yes,
Milana.
it is. It's a mock-up. It's a mock-up. The product is shooted on the white background, and the mock-up is next to the. I'm talking about the previous image that you showed.
Ah, okay. Yep. And this image here that I'm now showing, which is basically what we're looking at, is a white product. It is a curtain. And we have an image that is within TOS as a main image and an image that is not within TOS, which shows it's basically a lifestyle image. How are people supposed to deal with white products on a white background? We'll start with Milana and then we'll get Anthony also because you've got some stuff to probably share here.
So a lot of sellers are using, when they have a white product, they're using a lifestyle image as their main image, which is against TOS, and they have to know that, and they have to have a backup image of the white product, of their white product on white background. But how to avoid that the product is not melting and blending with the white background is to put harsh shadows. And the product will look a little bit grayish, but it really doesn't matter because the photo will stand out. The other way, what you can do is to put some props, which are in different colors, or to put packaging as well.
In the background.
Yeah, so to make an image stand out more. Because if you have only white, you can with shadows.
Cool. Something else we have here, we didn't actually speak about this, but bundles and sets. I think that this is a great example from a presentation that you once made for me. This is a great example of how a bundle or a set should look, and then compared to how a bundle or set shouldn't look. So for the people listening on the podcast, we currently have a whole bunch of images of bundles. And we're showing what a good image would look like compared to a very, very messy image. So Anthony, maybe you can give us your 2 cents on what an image, a main image should look like when it comes to bundles. A lot of people get confused of what they should be doing. I'm going to unmute you.
Sure. So I guess what I'll say, the biggest thing with bundles is obviously make the image look as clean as possible. That's a really, really big takeaway. One thing I do want to say, though, because there's all these questions, and I give a lot of talks, and people are really confused about the Amazon terms of service, right? And what it means in terms of the main image. And this is something where people often get very wrong. What people have to understand, and this is something that was drilled into your head every single day at Amazon, is Amazon's goal is they want to be the most #1 customer-centric company in the world. And the reason they put out these terms of service is they want a few sentences that can encapsulate all of the millions of products that are sold on their marketplace. And what sellers do way too often is they read it word for word and they don't think about what's the purpose of why Amazon has their terms of services for main image. And the reason why is they want to discourage sellers from doing things that are intentionally going to distract customers, that are going to confuse customers, or it's going to give them a worse shopping experience. And so some versions of the terms of service say it has to be the product on a white background. Other versions of the terms of service, depending on what kind of account you have, say that you can't have gratuitous or confusing additional objects. And so think about what Amazon is saying here is they don't want someone to look at the image from the main image and think, oh, am I going to get an extra item? They don't want things that are clickbaity, that are intentionally done just to drive eyeballs to the listing in hopes of getting clicks. So when we're thinking about that earlier example with the product on the white background with the drapes, the reason that you'll see this specifically in bedding categories. I've seen this on Amazon's own brands that Amazon owns. You could either have the product, which is just a folded duvet cover on a white background, or you could show it on a bed, right?
Yeah, and they let you get away with it on a bed.
And think about the reason why, right? No customer is getting to that listing. They're going to order that duvet cover, and then they're going to be like, well, where's the nightstand? Where's the succulent plant that was on the nightstand? Where's the background? Like, no one's doing that. And so one other quick tip that I want to give, and this is just something that I learned recently, and I'm just going to share my screen again, and I'll explain what it is. But this is, like, again, something that people often get wrong. Okay, can you see I'll explain what's on the screen for the people on the podcast. But this is on the left-hand side, what we see, it's a full face snorkel mask. We see people with the decals. It's like extra bonus and the items that you're getting. What I've learned about so there's not individual people going through and flagging main image violations. What it is it's a computer program that looks for white space. And so if a decal is hanging by itself in floating air, it's most likely going to be removed. Versus if it's actually connected to the product itself, it's much lower risk in terms of having that actual image suppressed. Also, on the right-hand side, we're looking at this whey protein, right? No one's ordering this protein and going to say, well, where's the bowl? Where's the Fruit Loops? And so you can think about that in terms of the main image violations. The other thing as well that we've seen other sellers doing is if you're conveying important information that's going to actually make the buying experience better. So on this example we have on the screen, it's another thing of protein, and it's showing two really important things that people are curious. How many grams of protein am I going to get? That's on the right, 22 grams. And then what is the flavor of this protein, which is the mint chocolate chip? And so it looks like this is integrated into the product packaging, but it's actually not part of the product packaging. And I think the reason why Amazon, they turn a blind eye on main image violations like this is because their account managers have been trained. They're going through and they're saying, okay, look at it. And is it trying to mislead customers? Is it trying to be distracting? Or is it something that's actually going to help them make a better and more informed buying decision? And if you're on the right side, I think you have very little to be worried about. But the sellers know when you're doing something that is, what you're doing is like, you're just trying to be tricky there.
Yeah. So we spoke about some infographics earlier, and I think that it is really, really important to sort of think about what kind of infographics. So I just wanted to put it up here. I currently have two separate images. One has got icons that are very presentable. The other one, they're very, very cluttered. And I think that these are just some great examples here as well. I just wanted to show this one here. Before and after images, also something that we didn't really speak about. Very, very important to have, in my opinion, for products. Like I, for example, am in the beauty niche. And for me, like before and after images are really, really important. Sasha, I know that you're going to have to go soon. So I'd like you to speak a little bit about A+ content, because you help people to sort of come up with the concepts and then they send that to their photographer. So before you head off, if you could sort of give us some tips about A+ content, and then I know that also Milana can probably add to that because there've been some changes with A+ content recently.
Yeah. So like I've worked with sellers. Some of them already come to me with the images already prepared, and they're like, choose some images for me and like come up with the text to match. And some people are like, I don't have my images yet, so can you tell me what kind of images I should be creating from scratch? And I like doing that because, I mean, I can do both, but I like doing that also because it helps, tell the story of the product. So for instance, if you're selling like, I don't know, for example, something to do with parties, I don't know, like let's say a cocktail kit, that's like one of those hot selling items on Amazon. So you want to have like an image that really captures attention, like show a party or show like a bartender like actually shaking those cocktails, like make something really epic out of that first image that grabs attention. And then also the last image that you use on EBC can also be something like really epic. Or you can use the comparison chart. I think people like to do that a lot because it, takes people then to other listings that they may have. They want to cross-sell or upsell, whatever. But yeah, definitely having like a few main images that bring people in to the emotions, the stories, to where they can imagine themselves like using that product, and then go into some of the features using some of the other modules of the EBC. And another tip that I like to tell people, this is not really to do with the images, it's more like the text that you use. If you're going to add text with each module, I think it's much better to keep them shorter and not write like an entire novel about the product. And all text, let's say you have the 3 image modules that all like sit side by side, the text underneath each one should be the same length. So don't make one like 100 words and one 30 words and one like, I don't know, it's like it looks really messy. So always keep things clean and concise. And then in terms of like the text that should go on images, one of the things I like to do is really come up with a slogan that sells the brand and not necessarily the product in like some of the main images, because that just makes people think that you're just better quality, like more trustworthy. So coming up with some really strong slogans can help. Just like a funny story, I was working with a client recently and they had a photographer who obviously wasn't an English speaker work on their listing, and it was an exercise product or something, I don't know, and this person wrote, "It's really good for a fat ass," and and this client came to me like, "Sasha, can you please like do something with this?" I'm like, "Okay, we need to change this." So I wrote something like, "It's suitable for all body types," and like whatever, like something. So it's really important, I think, to make sure that whoever you're hiring to do graphics, if they're going to do the copy, like you should, if you're an English speaker, like please check it first and make sure there's no spelling mistakes, or like come to me and I'll create some really good like headlines and slogans to go on the images. So yeah.
Cool. Thank you for that, Sasha. I know that at some stage you're going to have to go, so you can hop off, off whenever you need to go. So thank you so much for coming on, Sasha, and thank you. We have some questions here that I would like for us to answer. I'm going to, Milana, if you can answer this one. Hi, everyone. Is it better not to choose white packaging then if you plan to use it in your main image? Oh, you're on mute, Milana. Hold on, I'll unmute you. Go, you can speak now.
Sorry, I have an option to turn myself to, but I just keep forgetting. Is it better not to choose white packaging than if you plan to use it in your main image? Well, again, it depends. What color is your product and what, if your product is white and your packaging is white, then don't choose packaging white, for example. But if your product is standing out, yes, you can use white packaging, for example. But then again, that white packaging won't be completely white. It will be a little bit grayish, so it can be visible to people.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that, sorry, Anthony, did you want to say something? Or was that just me? No? Okay.
I guess all I'd say is, you can make your packaging any color you want. Amazon's platform is entirely white, right? Everything's white. So just think about if you're starting from square one, launching a product, come up with the packaging that's going to be the most eye-catching, the most visual. I wouldn't waste your time on white packaging unless very rarely.
I have to say that I have had some clients where I've seen they have white packaging and it's like, let's just say white with like gold foil, right? So it looks super, super chic. And, and the photographer, or I think that most of it's always been 3D mock-ups, have been able to put it in an angle. And then it's been able to that it does look luxurious and it does stand out. But I agree, everything on Amazon is white, like everything on the background, etc. And from a designer's point of view, Milana, like you said, it's not going to be perfect white as well. We have another question here, and the question is, I actually don't remember as to what he was referring here, but it says that makes sense. Thanks for the clarification on the TOS for the main images. It must have been something that we had spoken about on the main images, because he said, why so many images allowed that are against TOS? And then Anthony, you answered that earlier. Yakov has said here, I sell a wallet and my packaging is really beautiful. Is it worth adding the packaging to the main picture? Milana.
Well, if you can show that your product can be giftable, why not? But then again, I would make testings. Like I would see both options, how people are reacting.
Anthony.
Yeah, I'd say if you can if you can get a really good looking, if you can get your packaging to look good in the main image, specifically using 3D renders, I think that's a really good option. We've tested it a lot with PickFu, and generally things that show their packaging are going to perform better on PickFu. Amazon just opened up recently to certain sellers main image testing inside of Seller Central under managed experiments. So I'm curious to see what happens in the real world. My gut tells me that for some products it's going to work. For some products, it's not going to make a difference, but I'm curious to see. Yeah.
I think that in my experience as a seller and also someone who, sees images all day long when it comes to like, how do they convert with clients? I think an image like the one that we can see here. So for the people listening on the podcast, we have here, it's like a waffle maker and it has the packaging in the background. That's usually the type, it depends on the product, but usually those are the types of images that we usually put in. So we put the product towards the front and then the packaging towards the back. And Milana, you do this often as well. I think that there's some products where all you really need is the packaging. And I think it just really depends, right? It's so product dependent. Sometimes people will just have their packaging as the main image. I can see you want to say something, Anthony.
Well, the other thing I'll say too is we were talking about TOS before. Amazon TOS is very clear about one thing, and that's you under any circumstances have text in your main image. But what's a really clever way to get around that is about putting text inside your product packaging. So if you're selling a waffle maker and you want to put in some really cool differentiator, you want to put in some cool designs, I've seen people go as far as they make their product packaging, especially for supplements, for different beauty products, where their product packaging almost looks like an infographic and they're using that to occupy the full frame. So again, that's a clever hack around it.
Yeah, I agree. I do that with my own stuff as well. So in anything that we have that we want to say about the products as well, we usually have it on the packaging as well. Now, if we talk about maybe Anthony, you can speak to this also a little bit about the importance. I preach that in 2021, it's going to be really difficult for people to kick butt without being brand registered because of the amount of marketing benefits that you get when you're brand registered. So when you're brand registered, you get, for example, A+ content on the images side of things. I'm talking images and videos. You get A+ content. You're able to use a video. You're also able to use Amazon posts. You're also able to use video ads as well. What has PickFu seen when it comes to conversion-wise percentage when it comes to using A+ content, for example? How important do you think that is?
I don't necessarily know if PickFu is going to be more of testing I don't know if I can give any data specifically around like PickFu helping that answer, but I think that the more information that you can have on your listing is going to be better. And so think about it, right? Like humans are visual creatures. Your brain is just a big graphics processor. Every second that your eyeballs are open, you're processing visual information. And so think about how much more valuable is an A+ content versus a standalone text description. Right, you're getting so much more information. Same thing with choosing to have a video versus just having the images in your gallery. Any kind of content where people can interact and feel like they have a connection to your brand, whether that's through posts, whether that's through doing anything, whether that's through having a really well built out storefront, it's just going to help your brand. And so I don't know necessarily, there's so many things on your listing that can increase your conversion rate. And so I look at it as these are just tools in your arsenal. And if you want to go and win the war, right, win the battle, you want to go full force on all of them. You want to have amazing A+, you want to have amazing video, you want to have a really good looking storefront, you want to have great images.
Yeah, I think that, I think Amazon says that A+ content is usually going to add 5% on conversion. And then I always say, well, if the A+ content is 5%, then the video is 5%, if everything. So it can be a lot of money. Milana, from a designer's point of view, when it comes for you to on an A+ content, what kind of stuff are you seeing people mostly approach? I think what Sasha was trying to say earlier was her and I once called it the sandwich. So at the top, I'm talking about modules, Milana, by the way. I know that you have some stuff to tell us about the modules. Usually at the top to put like a big, beautiful sort of, like a hero
Banner.
type of image. Yeah, banner. And then at the bottom to put another banner, and then in the middle to put all of the information that you
Yeah.
want to put in.
I just want to say that it's important to make a good structure of A+ content, to look nice and very well organized, and to have everything nicely branded, not just put stuff randomly, and to tell a story from first image, like in main images, to tell a story from first till the last image, right? Or till the video, if you have it. So I think the A+ contents looks best if you're using different modules, and if you're combining them, if you have maximum, let's say, about 7 images. And for the first image, I would suggest to use a company logo, but not the one that Amazon is suggesting, because Amazon is suggesting size for company logo. I think, I'm not sure at this moment, but I think it's 600 pixels with 180 pixels. And that image, so for example, other images will gonna come to this size, and that company logo is gonna be like this on top. So I use a module that is standard image header that is 970 pixels with 300 pixels. It's a wide banner like this, but it comes across the screen, and then the rest of the images are all in the square going under that banner. You know what I mean? And so Amazon actually a few months ago took out that image, standard header image, but they left. It's actually pretty cool dimension, because in those dimensions you can put some, horizontal image with some simple text. You can put some icons or some features of the product, and it doesn't give you as much as it gives you another banner that is 970 pixels with 600, which is wider, but it can be, for a logo or for icons or some features. And Amazon actually took out that module, but what they leave is standard image header with text overlay. But you don't have to put text overlay. You can not put anything, and then the module will come as an image as you upload it, So people come back to me some. Okay, people sometimes come back to me and they tell me, I don't have this module. I don't have an option. I have only 970 with 600. Yes, you have, but it's different name. You have to choose standard image header with text overlay and not to text overlay. So when you're making a structure, as Sasha was saying as well, when you have a block of images of 3 square images that are 300 with 300 pixels, it's, have a consistency in those images, have the same font, have the same size of the font. Don't just, randomly put things and have in one image smaller and one in another one bigger font and have a mess. Yeah, I would suggest to people to make a structure of at least 7 images where they can combine, so for example, 970 with 300, 1 or 2 big banners where you can put, where you can make some very simple infographic or some really nice lifestyle image to look appealing, and a block of 3 or 4 square images as well.
I'm muting you every time I speak because I'm getting feedback when I talk. But I think something that's really important to say is also that if you sell multiple products, to have a comparison chart, because then you're able to upsell your other products as well. We have someone here asking a question. The question is, also some sellers are showing their reviews in the 5th and 6th image. And yes, it is against terms of service. Anthony, do you want to say something about that as well?
Yeah, I wouldn't recommend showing a review in your image gallery. It's definitely not a good idea. What I have seen done that's a very clever way around this is they'll have a picture of their product, and then they'll have just a couple words in a quotation. So imagine you're trying to sell a bike rack. What they might do is they might have a picture of the product on the bike rack on the car, and then they might have in quotes, super easy to install. Love the helpful guide included, and then they just have 5 stars there. And so you'll definitely get docked if you say like Anthony Cofrancesco and then take a picture of the review. But if you try to encapsulate a few words that are common objections with the product and you put it in quotes, people are going to be able to make that gap themselves. But you're not saying, hey, Anthony Cofrancesco said this. So that's a potential way to get around. You want to give the indication of you have feedback, but don't break the rules in that regard. That could actually get you suspended. Like that could actually get your whole listing taken down.
That's true. David is asking here, I've heard to put the most important stuff at the bottom of A+ content. Most people scroll to the bottom first, then move up. Is this true? I don't think, I mean, for most of our stuff, we have actually at the bottom, we personally have comparison charts to be honest, at the bottom. Do you have any feedback on that, Anthony?
I'm sure it's factually true that people scroll down to the bottom as a habit, but they probably don't spend time at the bottom. And so if you're looking at like a heat map and you want to see, even like on PickFu, we'll do different click tests and see where people attention is going to be driven first. It's definitely going to be towards the top of the A+ content. And what I would say is think about your A+ content as a funnel. The most important information should be big. It should be at the top. And then as you get down to the bottom, that's where you should keep long amounts of text, anything that's, your brand story, things that are secondary to people making a buying decision.
Yeah, I agree with that. We have some more questions here. I'm just trying to slot through them. Cool. So I think we have some awesome tips there regarding images. Milana, as a photographer or graphics designer, something that I think that you guys sometimes struggle with is people don't necessarily understand. If we talk about models for a second, and by the way, Anthony, I know you're going to have to hop off at some stage, so when you do, just let me know. I respect your time. And when it comes to using models, right, a lot of people don't understand that it's not just, they come and that's it, we use the models and they go. Right. So can you speak a little bit to how it is from the designer and the photographer side of things, a date or a shoot when it comes to using a model, what that looks like, so we can save the headache when people then say, well, can't she just come? It's just an hour. They don't understand necessarily, she may need makeup or she may need this. So speak a little bit to that. You need to unmute yourself and then I'm going to mute myself now.
All right. So a lot of people think that, they can have themselves in images and they're not necessarily not photogenic, but they don't necessarily feel comfortable in front of the camera. Like, for example, me, I couldn't be a model. So you have to have a model that has experience in showing your product and to feel comfortable in images and to look natural. So take whoever, it sometimes can, look bad. And if you hire a professional model who has already experience and who will, present your product well, it's a different story. And also when it comes to preparation, it's important. It depends, again, what is the product and what's the situation, like what kind of makeup the model should have, what kind of nails are they important if they're showing hands of a female showing a product, working with product and things like that, what kind of hair she should have. And models are preparing for photo shootings and they're coming on photo shootings already prepared to show the product in the best light and them to look as best as possible.
Okay, and unmuted myself. We've got a question here of how important is it to add text to images in A+, and does it help ranking for search terms? So, Anthony, you can pitch in here. I'm going to say that as far as we know, Amazon does not index A+ content, but what does help for ranking on Google, etc., and I believe also Amazon, is the keywords that you put into the A+ content. So I do think that it's important to have. Does it help ranking? I can't confirm that. Anthony, do you have anything to say on that?
I think if it does, the vast majority, it's all going to be weighted. So I think the vast majority of what's going to help you for searchability in terms of ranking is going to be in your title and your bullet points. And so if it is in your A+, even if it's indexed, I think it's probably a much lower weight. But it's important, and you want to have it right. I think A+, the way that it's going, and again, this is something you can test and manage experiments in Seller Central. I think very, very few people do it. I've asked a lot of people, and only certain sellers I've seen have done it. You can actually upload duplicate copies, different A and B tests for your A+ content in Seller Central. My gut tells me that your A+ should be as visual as possible and keep large blocks of text out, just because my gut tells me that the vast majority of people are not going to stick around to read a paragraph. They'd much rather see an infographic or something that's more visuals heavy. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, I think that on an Amazon side of things, from what we know, Panette asked this, from what we know, Amazon does say, like in the TOS somewhere, if you go into your Seller Central in the top right, you can actually search this. I've done this in the past. And they do say that the A+ content is not indexed. And what they do use is, and they say though that it's, I'm pretty sure I can't remember the wording that they use for it, but it's for Google and things like that as well. It's the text that you put in when you upload the image. And that is why, as far as we know, people still leave the description in the background and the back end, because the description is what stays indexed, even though you don't see it on the front end anymore. So that's what I know to be true. This is a great question, Milana. I'll mute myself so you can answer it. Do you have any ideas for the hero image of crystal clear products like magnifiers? And I'm muting myself so you can unmute yourself, Milana. Oh, no, we can't hear you. Hold on. Try to speak.
You hear me now? I can't answer this question at this moment, because I would have to make a research. I would have to see what other people are showing and, to get some ideas, and then to make a decision how would be the best to present the product.
But you have done transparent products in the background, in the past, I mean, right?
Transparent, not
like
so
see-through.
often.
No,
not so often, but yeah, it happens. Like I don't know, a bottle or things like that.
Mm-hmm. Anthony, what do you want?
Yeah, what I'll say about this is I used to have an idea in my mind about what 3D renders really were. And then I did a presentation where I got a lot of help from a guy named Corey, who has a company called Fade Visuals. And he kind of showed me the range of quality of 3D renders. And so for certain types of products, 3D renders are absolutely going to look better than photography. And so where those are going to happen are things like this. If you have something that's crystal clear, if you have something that's reflective or metallic, like you can see it with my glasses right now, it would take a really talented photographer in almost perfect lighting to get that to show up really, really well, versus doing it with a 3D render in a virtual environment. It can look way better than it would look in real life. In fact, if you ever are going by a Rolex store, if you are going through maybe the airport, you'll notice that almost all of the images that they have are 3D renders of the watch. And the reason why is because getting those perfect amount of reflections is hard to do in a studio, versus they're very easy to do well in a virtual environment. So I think if you have a product that is glass or metallic or heavily reflective, a 3D render, you have to pay for a good 3D render, but it's probably going to be worth it.
I had a client once who, I obviously won't say what the product is, but it's a transparent product, but it's actually made out of acrylic. And when the photographers tried to take the image for the main image, there was always this reflection, and for some reason they weren't able to sort of fix it in Photoshop. So they just ended up making a 3D rendered version of it. Or actually, Milana may tell me that it's not a render and it's actually a mock-up. I still get sometimes confused. It could be a mock-up. But yeah, Bernard said, I think I pronounced his name correctly. I hope I did. Great idea with the rendering. Thank you, Anthony. Venture Time Marketing has said it is indexed. So they're talking about the question back to A+ content. It is indexed, but not on a ranking factor. Awesome. That's great to know as well. Great. I think that we had a lot of information shared today. I think that's enough just to talk about photography for one day. So Anthony, if anyone wants to reach out to you, because I'm going to spend about a minute with Milana to just talk about Branded by Women after this. If anyone wants to reach out to you and find you, where can they reach out to you?
Sure. Anyone can hit me up, Anthony@pickthrough.com.
Cool, awesome. And just very, very briefly, I just want to make sure that people understand PicFu is like an amazing tool to use. And we basically are uploading images or even questions. So PicFu is not just for photography. I've even used PicFu for design ideas as well. Right, Anthony? It's not, you know, it can be for photography, it can be for concepts, it can be for ideas, it can be for product packaging, it can be for color themes, it can be for anything. Agreed?
Yeah, basically what we say is anytime that you're making a big creative decision in your business, right, whether that's a logo, whether that's graphic design, if you're making a big creative decision, consider getting some feedback beyond just asking your wife or, you know, your husband or whatever it might be, you know, or just going with your gut. And so you can upload any creative asset, text, video, images, audio, whatever you want to do.
Cool. Thank you very much, Anthony. If anyone wants to reach out to Anthony, I've already forgotten your email. What was it, Anthony? Anthony@picfu.com.
Anthony@picfu.com. Yep.
Cool. Awesome. So Anthony, I'm going to thank you so much for coming on. I'm going to stick here with Milana. Thank you again, Anthony. Milana, my darling, I also wanted to let everyone know that you are speaking this year in Branded by Women. So for those of you who don't know, Branded by Women is an amazing summit that is coming up. I should know the date. I can't remember the date. I think it's 22nd of February. I should know it. Danny's going to get angry at me later. But anyway, can you very, very briefly just let everyone know also what you're going to be speaking about? I can see you're checking what the date is. Can you let everyone know very, very briefly, 30 seconds, sort of what you're going to be speaking about when it comes to Branded by Women? I'm going to mute myself so you can unmute yourself as well.
I keep forgetting that I'm muted and I keep talking and then nobody hears me. So it's I think it's 23rd, 24th, and 25th, or 24th, 25th, 26th. I will check. So yeah, actually, I wanted to add what Anthony was saying, and so I didn't get the question of the person who asked about the transparent product, but yeah, definitely I would recommend to make a 3D render of it or a mock-up and to show it in that way, because shooting the translucent products can turn out okay, but you need a lot of editing. You need a lot of editing to make it look good and to really stand out against the white background, or depends what you're planning to do. So in this case, it was on the white background. It was for hero image. I've been in those situations, and usually what we do is a mock-up, or if it's a real image, it really requires a lot of editing to look good. When it comes to reflection, what is the problem there? The image of the product that is shot once, of the product that has a reflection, is not going to look good. So it has to be shot from different angles. I mean, from the same angle, but you have to change the light. You have to move the light, and then to shoot it multiple times, and then to make one image of that image. So it can be done in a both way. 3D render will look better, but with product photography, it can be done, but in a different way, you know? So in Branded by Women, and I think that will help a lot of people as well, my presentation, I'm explaining as well the difference. It's something that people are quite confused about. They don't understand the difference between 3D renders and models, and between 3D renders and models and mock-ups. They don't understand they think it's the same when it's not. But for example, a 3D render can be used to create a 3D model. And I'm explaining that. I'm giving examples there to help people understand the difference. And I'm also telling them where they can as well purchase mock-ups to help them in presentation of their product online or on Amazon or on their shop. It depends when they're selling. And I'm talking as well about photo manipulation, that they can do that as well. And yeah, some products that are difficult to photograph, and in those cases to use 3D renders or mock-ups to replace it, things like that. So I think it will be very helpful for people and help them understand some things, because there is quite a lot of confusion.
Okay, I muted you for a second. So I've seen your presentation, and I just want to say, whether you're a man or a woman, you want to definitely get on Branded by Women and watch Milana's presentation, because it's an amazing one. Now, before we wrap it up, Milana, there's a question here that I can probably answer. It says, Saibi says, I saw a photo cover with an image of their listing reviews on the phone. Is that allowed or a smart workaround? I prefer not to really voice my opinion on it, because I don't think that it is I think that it's not allowed, Saibi, to be honest. I think it could be a smart workaround, but from what I know, Amazon does not allow to have listing reviews. So I don't want to take responsibility on that one. I don't think Milana should take responsibility on answering that too. So I don't think that it's something that I would do, to be honest.
I just can say that from working with different people, some people do that, some people don't. It's.
Panette says, all my competitors don't just show the product in the hero image. They include models and props. How do I compete against that and keep it within TOS? Look, in my experience, it's kind of trial and error whether you're going to be able to get away with it or not. I always say like Milana said earlier in the conversation, to have a backup, right, Milana? So always have a backup image. You can try and see if you can get away with it. When we're talking about main image, in my experience, the worst case scenario is that your product listing will be suppressed. And the difference between suppressed and suspended is that you can fix a suppressed listing on your own. You don't need Amazon. Whereas when it gets suspended, it becomes difficult to deal with. So I will say that, Panette, and I will say that if you're going to try something that's against terms of service, always have a backup, because I don't know how Amazon's algorithm works when it comes to choosing who they allow to get away with things and who don't. I can say that even in our niches, images that we've had out for 4 years, suddenly the listing was suppressed in my nighttime, and I woke up and saw less sales, and I was like, what happened? And then I realized that basically Amazon was suppressing our listing because the main image was no longer allowed, when everyone else was using, the same types of main images, which includes models in it. And I tried 1 million times to upload new images and things like that. So yeah, it's basically you either get away with it or you don't. Lucas said that Milana is number one, which I totally agree with. And Nair, who knows everything about Amazon's terms of service, I should have just asked also if he was here, said, Saibi, no, it's not allowed. Amazon can index photos, kind of read. That's true. Amazon's algorithm has a way of basically reading the images that you put up. So thank you very much, Milana, my dear friend, also for coming on today. You did an amazing job.
Thank you for
your first podcast. You did amazing. If anyone wants to reach out to you, where can they find you, Milana?
So they can write me on support@studiopixelnuts.com or on a Facebook page, Studio Pixel Nuts.
And they could also find you in the Alpha group. And if anyone wants to get in touch with me, you can also send me a message as well, Sharon Evan, or my YouTube channel, Sharon Evan. Thank you to the amazing Danny. And on Monday, Isabella will be back with Mindset Mondays. I wish everyone an amazing weekend, and bye.
Bye.